Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to Munro Live. This is kind of a little bit of a different segment. Today we've got Malcolm Bricklin. Malcolm's been around for a long time. He knows a lot about vehicles, especially how to design and build them, but more especially about how to sell them. And so Malcolm is my guest today, and we're going to talk to him a little bit, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background. One thing that you may want to go and look up is this this article that was done by the CBC. So Malcolm Bricklin started his own car company about 45 years ago, called the Bricklin. There's a bunch more details if you get this thing from the get it off the web for the CBC. So these are the kinds of stories that Malcolm can basically tell you all day long. But what I'd like to know is, we've heard what you did in the past. Now, why is it that you've decided to choose the three-wheeled vehicle?
So as I told you, I had played with electric and got down to an electric bicycle. Now I am with the Chinese car thing and talking them into, while we're doing everything, to getting into electric, even though it was a little premature in '04. And we were talking about it. And then I ran into my problem, and I found out how fun it was doing business with the Chinese. And I started paying attention to electric. And I started seeing with lithium that the world was about to change, and that everybody was going to get into electric vehicles in a big way. And was there any reason for me to be in the business? And after spending time with a team, looking over everything and trying to do this and getting focus groups, we realized nobody's going to need another SUV. And nobody's going to need another pickup, not for me at least. And nobody's going to need another sedan. All the car companies are going to build electric, what I just said. So why should we be in the business at all? But there was something that I kept hearing, no matter any time we talked about electric vehicles, was save weight. Save weight in materials, save weight in frame, save weight in the batteries. And I went, guys, take off a wheel. How much weight do I save? 1,500 pounds. I said, let's play with three-wheel vehicles. And then we did focus groups. And then we found people were scared that because they narrow in the front, they're going to fall over. And it didn't matter. That's what people were nervous about. Of all the things that we did in the focus group, that's the one that stuck in their head. And I said, well, I'm not going to build a car that's not as safe as can be. My kids and my grandkids are going to be driving the car. I don't build a safe car just because it's cute. I do it because I don't want my kids getting hurt in the car. So I said, okay, great. Suppose we make a nice wide end like a Lamborghini, short wheelbase, batteries on the floor. I'm going to have great stability and a great ride. And I went to Dan Panos, who builds race cars and designs race cars. And I said, you can build a race car that hits a wall at 200 miles an hour, ruins the car, but the person walks. I want them to walk at 100 miles an hour. No, he said, no problem, just design it in. And I said, and I want a harness belt with airbags in the harness belt on top of all that. Now, I bring that up because my first thing when I said that to you, you laughed at me and said, no, you don't. We got something better than that.
Yeah.
And you have it.
Yeah,
and I said, no, I want this, I want that. And you showed me this.
Right. So this is AmSafe. Here you go, grab that. This is AmSafe, and the igniter's been removed. But in essence, what happens with this seat belt is that when you get into a crash, instead of having something shooting out of the instrument panel or out of the steering wheel, it comes out of this little bag here, and it comes up to protect your face and your head. And if you get the fancy one, you can get one coming this way, and you can have another one that shoots between your legs for anti-submarining. So AmSafe has been a customer of ours, and now we're hopefully going to be a customer of theirs. And we're putting this into all of the three-wheel vehicles that Munro is working on. So
I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, this is a great way to go. And as most people know, three-wheel vehicles are really called autocycles, and they don't really have to have all of the safety requirements of a normal vehicle, if you like, a four-wheeled car. But we've decided that if we're going to work with any three-wheel vehicle company, they're going to have two things that we're going to bring to the party. One is going to be that airbag inside the seatbelt, the AMSafe.
Very important.
And the second thing is going to be that we're going to put a gyroscopic board inside the vehicle.
Great
and
idea.
That basically is what you see when you, many people have heard of the smart bomb and whatnot, but that's kind of like what they look like. This is the paveway. And people call it the smart bomb and whatnot, but its real name is the paveway. Munro and Associates has worked on pretty much every bigger product like that, including things like Excalibur.
Wow.
That's this round. And in order to make these things work, what you have to do is you have to put a gyroscopic system in. Now, nobody's going to have one of those spinning things like you used to have when you were a kid. There's not enough room for that sort of stuff. So now what we have is a gyroscopic chip, an integrated circuit, an IC. And that will be sitting on top of a circuit board, and that circuit board will then control the suspension. And with an air suspension, I can make sure that no matter how fast you're going or how big the incline is, I can twist the car. So if the car is on an angle, I can twist it so it's straight.
Wow.
If it's going too fast and it wants to spin out, I can change the attitude of the car, or better yet, I can change the spin on the wheels. So the rear wheel is going to have its own motor. The two front wheels each have their own motors, and so consequently, one slowing down or speeding up will cause the car to stay steady as opposed to swerving around. Now, I know there are other people that have said that a three-wheel vehicle is unsafe, but at the end of the day, I'm sure everyone's seen the pictures of the Robin Reliant flipping over, or other three-wheel vehicles popping over. But that does not have to happen.
Oh, I agree.
Technology is way beyond that.
We've gone a step farther than that. We're building it like you would build a normal car, except it has three wheels.
Yeah.
And for that, and again, I said safety is right on top of it. And you telling me about the chip is the first time I heard. That makes me very excited.
Well, I like to surprise you.
Well, you always do. You always do, and I always love them, because what you're talking about, added to what we're planning on doing, is truly going to make it the safest vehicle out there. I want to be the safest production vehicle out there, because we have even though there are very few regulations for us, there's also no restrictions on what we can do that are better than, for instance, that seatbelt that you have, they could not put in a regular car because the mandate says it has to be this way. Mm-hmm. But we can put it in and make it safer because we don't have that regulation.
Right, and quite frankly, I think that pregnant women definitely like it. Women in general don't like lap belts at all.
Be terrible for them.
Yeah, right. So, so at the end of the day, this is a really good alternative. In the olden days, when they came up with the three-point hitch, as it were, the lap belt and the shoulder belt, that was the best they had at that time. But times change, and I don't see any reason now why we have to have a very expensive repair when the airbags go off in the dash or in the steering column. I really don't get it. I don't see why we still are doing something that's old-fashioned. But once somebody puts it in a book, it stays there forever, and it's very difficult to move it.
And that's the advantage we have. The not rules makes it better, easier for us to do what makes sense.
Right, to modernize it. We're just going to modernize safety. And that's kind of what Munro is bringing to the party. But actually, all the stuff is dependent on one thing, and that's the way you want to do business in the future. So I was wondering if maybe you could talk a little bit about the business model with your dealerships and whatnot, because I think that's kind of also, basically, if you're going to get into any kind of a product, you have to figure out how you're going to make money at it, and your dealership approach is vastly different than anything I've ever heard of before. So I think it'd be great if you could talk a little bit about that.
First of all, we are the only human beings that were not owned by the factory that imported cars in the United States in any kind of quantity in the last century. Hoffman brought in cars, but he brought in 3 Volkswagen things and then sold the Volkswagen franchise. He brought in teensy-weensy, but had a bunch of franchises. We had Subaru, Pininfarina, Bertone, the Bricklin car, and the Yugo. All in there. Everybody from the dealer or distributor level made money on the cars. With the Yugo that everybody laughs about, they were in some cases getting $3,000 over lists on a $3,900 car.
What? How is that?
I would try to beat them to death. I said, don't do that. What are you doing? $39.90 is why you're bringing them in the door. Don't do it. But some of them couldn't. The people came in and wanted the car. They wanted it for the maid. They wanted it for the kid. They wanted to have Our
Wow.
slogan was, everybody needs a Yugo sometime. And they did. They wanted.
Did you get Frank Sinatra to sing that?
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
In any case, what we found, starting with Subaru, because I did it because I didn't understand the car business. Here I was, the importer of a car. I had never sold a car. I had never even sold my own car. I gave it to somebody and they took care of it. I never actually bought a car. Somebody bought a car for me. So I knew I didn't know what the heck to do, and I knew if I was going to do what I wanted to do to get letters of credit, which I needed desperately all the time, is I would set up distributors.
Yeah.
And they would have to be very successful car dealers. They'd have to buy some stock in my company. We were a public company at the time, and they would have to give me letters of credit. And their job would be to go out and get the dealer network. All right? And I like the fact of having everybody involved have a piece of the company. So everybody comes from the same place. We're not seeing them as enemies. Everybody is our partner. And I like that. My directors are all investors. My dealers are all going to be investors. My distributors are all going to be investors. So when the stock goes up, everybody gets to enjoy it, and everybody gets to do things that make it want to go up. On that basis, setting up distributors, again, here's what we're doing. We sent the country and Canada into 11 parts. So they're big, big areas. And a distributor is going to invest $10 million each at arbitrary price of $12 a share. Where does that price come in? Arbitrary. Why will they do it? Because they get this big area to be distributors, and they're also going to make money on the stock. Their job, their commitment in writing is in their area, they're going to set up 50 dealers. And each of the dealers, besides doing all the things that we want a dealer to do, has to invest a minimum of $500,000 in the company at $15 a share. And then when we go public, theoretically, anybody wants to sell the stock, they can sell the stock. And we're going public relatively soon after we set up the dealer and distributor network, because right now, EV car companies are very hot. And we have all sorts of investment bankers banging down our door right now saying, please, let's go public. I said, whoa. We need to do something. Fisker had a prototype. Not a prototype he's actually going to build, because now he's going to make a deal with Magna. He's going to change all the parts again. But he has a prototype, and he merged with a company that's public at a $2.8 billion valuation. So that's what's happening out there in the world. All of them are going nuts. And that's because Mr. Musk has done a great job of having a company now worth over $400 billion. He can take General Motors and Ford times 5, and that's what his valuation is. So God bless him. In any case, so by setting up the distributors and them setting up the dealers, we bring in capital of $400 million, which makes people who want to put in money when it goes public to see that everybody's committed. Everybody has their money in there. And because Ron Harbour, from the Harbour Report, the foremost authority on factories in the universe, on our board, said, Malcolm, don't build yourself a factory. Build yourself an assembly facility. Let everybody do everything and send it into you and just put it together. And one of our principles are 90% of our labor are going to be veterans. And why? Because these are people that if you treat them right, are dedicated in themselves, they're willing to give up their life to be a veteran, well, a soldier before they're being a veteran. And because of that, on our board, we have people like the ex-Secretary of Homeland Security, who happens to be president of the Disabled Veterans of America. And people like Paul Buca, who's a Medal of Honor winner and was a chairman of the Medal of Honor Committee and was military advisor for both Bush and Obama. And he's on our board. All these are investors and on our board, so that we're paying attention to the veterans to give them what they want, which is good pay, great pay, as a matter of fact, make the jobs fun, have each of them have an opportunity to buy some stock from some of the money that they're going to be making, so everybody is feeling like it's their home. that they really want to do it great. And the most important thing to get this right was you and I spending enough time together to realize I need you to get me to the next stage in the same kind of fabulous way we want everything else in our thing. So that makes me so excited.
Well, the deal with me on the three-wheeled cars is because, and as you know, we have other customers. We have Arkimoto and Nobe as well as two of our customers, and all of the car companies that we're working with right now, all of the EV car companies that are all three-wheel. And the reason for that is because I believe that unless there's some sort of a gigantic transformation within the rest of the world, I think Elon Musk is going to be basically dominating the normal four-wheel vehicle. I think he's going to be dominating it for the next.
He's doing it right now, that's for sure.
Well, I believe it's going to be much bigger than that. I've heard lots of stories about different states and whatnot have phoned me up and said, well, we have this guy that wants to talk about one of our factories, and we thought maybe it would be you for a three-wheel vehicle. Well, how many square feet is it? Well, it's about 1 million. 1 million square feet for a three-wheel? No, that would not be me. There's only one person who could basically utilize 1 million square feet. And by the way, 1 in Canada and 4 in the United States. That kind of size, that can only be for Tesla. So I believe Elon is basically looking at world domination.
I think so
and
too.
That's what, except for one area, which he said he's not getting into, which is three-wheel vehicles, and that's why Munro and Associates decided to move in. And not only that, I think that every car can't be a $50,000 car. And I know he's saying that he's going to get a $25,000 car soon, but at the end of the day, I know that he is going to he's going to have to make money at it, and unless he's figured out how to create free batteries or almost free batteries, it's going to be very difficult to hit that number for a full-size vehicle with all of the ADAS, automatic driving systems, and all the other things that are in a normal Tesla. So what we are looking at is a three-wheel vehicle where I can take a few bucks out of it by getting rid of a corner, but maybe putting a couple of chips back in to make sure that the car stays stable, and that's kind of what we're looking at. I think that your car is advertised right now at about 25.9. I think that that's probably a pretty good price. Have you got anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, here's where we came from. We're building a three-wheel vehicle, but we believe it's the car we're building is a different segment than any other three-wheel vehicle. Our car will almost look like a real car, meaning a bigger car, except it only has 3 wheels. And I think there's room for all sorts of different. Some of the 3 wheels will be for roads that are narrow and in areas that you need that are not going to be narrow. We're going to be a Lamborghini width on the car. So we have that difference because we're coming from a different mentality on that. But I believe 3 wheels are going to be a very, very popular mode. And the truth of the matter is, if you're not a car company and you don't do a 3-wheeler, what should you do? Just like you said, if Musk doesn't take over, everybody else is building their 4-wheel SUVs and they're building. You got to be crazy to go against them.
Yeah, and that's primarily
so
why
we agree 100% when it comes to that.
I want to vote for the car that's going to have less competition than the one that's going to be flooded with competition.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, Malcolm, I have a question, a big burning question. How quickly do you want your car into production?
Well, it depends on a few things, but hopefully we'll be ready to go into production in sometime early 2022.
Okay, and actually, I only have one more question that I think is kind of pertinent. You talked about the investors that you have for the through the auto dealerships and stuff like that. Are you looking for any new investors at this point?
Well, the answer is yes, sort of. we were going to go strictly with what we planned on doing. We get the distributors and we have the dealers in, and of course our board of directors and anybody involved with us personally. But then all of a sudden my friends and family, everybody starts saying, but we want to be involved in the thing. So we said, you know what? We'll go ahead and let people invest up till the point where the distributors start signing, and then no more investors until we go public. And then, of course, anybody who wants to at that time can buy it. So, yeah, the answer is if people wanted to get involved and they can afford to get involved.
So you're looking for real investors,
Well,
the guys that are
I don't want
qualified.
anybody putting in any money that they're going to need tomorrow. But for darn sure, we don't want anybody in any case that's looking to invest money today and looking to make a quick profit tomorrow.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, what we want is people who are doing it and who wait for the public issue. That's when they'll make a lot of money. That's when they can sell to anybody they want to sell to. But anybody that is in a nervous, in any way, shape, or form, we don't want to talk.
Well, I think that we've probably exceeded our limit, and I know we've gotten through all of the questions. So what I'd like to do first off is thank you so much for letting me talk to you here in front of the Munro Live audience, and I'm hoping that we can be a big part of helping you get that car into production.
I am depending on that.
Ah, okay, good.
I am
Excellent.
depending on you, Sandy.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you, Sandy.
And everybody out there, thank you for watching, and let's make sure we keep tipping those cashiers. Thank you.
That's great. There, that would be invited, and I'd have General Motors and Ford, and everybody would be there with their lawyers, and I would be there. And they would tell you all the reasons why 5 mile an hour would make a car ugly, and it would, you know, blah, 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 on and on and on and on. Then it would get to me, and I'd say, well, we put in 10 mile an hour bumper systems, and if you would like to see them, they're downstairs.